that's been implemented into cattle call. And the momos are just, they're these little dumplings filled with either pork or chicken. They can be steamed or fried, and you dip them in sauces regardless of how you have them. They are so addicting. If you order 8, you wish you had 10. If you order 10, you wish you had 15. Like, if you order 25, you wish you had 30. Hey there, Omaha. Welcome into another episode of Restaurant Hoppen. I'm your host, Dan Hoppen, and my guest today is probably one of the youngest people I've had on this show. And yet, as I have conversations with chefs and restaurateurs around Omaha, and I kind of ask, like, who's up next? Who are the young talents in this city that are really going to take this thing over? And this guy's name comes up time and time and time again. And from the food that I've had at his establishment, it's really not much of a surprise. He's very talented. He's very young, but he's doing great things already. My guest today is Abe Vidaurre of Cattle Call. He's the executive chef there. Abe, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Dan. It feels great to be here. A lot of people that I look up to have been on the show as well, so I'm honored and I'm humbled and I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you here.
Yeah.
And first, I just want to start off with an introduction to where you work, to Cattle Call, because it's such an interesting concept to me, because you could go there and do so many different things. Like, it could be a swanky cocktail bar for somebody. It could be a lunch spot where they're going and getting Nepalese dumplings called Momos. It could be a late night spot where you're grabbing, a burger or a banh mi sandwich, or it could be like quasi fine dining. Like, I could see taking a date there and like having a great time. How does Cattle Call manage to hit all those like vastly different experiences and deliver on all of them?
Cattle Call, we're still kind of like growing and developing, and we started out very humbly. Originally, Cattle Call was supposed to be like a sushi concept, like a bar and bar food sort of quick service concept. But myself and the chef before me, we came into the restaurant. We had our own ideas, our own types of cuisine and style of service that we wanted to provide. The owners are super receptive. I know you've talked to them in the past. They're great guys, Rocky and Sagar. And so, yeah, we sort of just started growing and evolving, and it was all sort of based around the Momo. The Momo had to stay, needed to stay. The people love him. I love him. But then the idea was, how do we sort of fit everything around it? And so that's what I think about when I think about our service and our menus. How can we sort of add our own spin or add our own dishes to sort of complement the Momo? And our style of service is sort of changing around that too, right? We're trying to sort of elevate our experience, have a place where people can come in and, they can have a quick bite and they can kind of wine and dine. We're trying to appeal and serve the people who want to go to the Orpheum. We want to be that date night spot, but we also want to be that spot that you can hang out after the show, or while you're grabbing a drink at the green room or at Mercury. If you're hungry, you can come have a quick bite. We really are trying to hit all those marks as best we can.
I love that, and I've been a huge fan of Momos. I mean, anyone listening to this probably has heard of Kathmandu Momo Station, which has a location inside the inner rail and had a Blackstone location, or a location in Blackstone for, probably 6 or 7 years. It was a while. And now that's been implemented into Cattle Call. And the Momos are just, they're these little dumplings filled with either pork or chicken. They can be steamed or fried, and you dip them in sauces regardless of how you have them. They are so addicting. If you order 8, you wish you had 10. If you order 10, you wish you had 15. Like, if you order 25, you wish you had 30. They're just you just want more and more of them. Mm-hmm. When you and the other chef, Chef Dom, came in and kind of heard the concept that Sagar and Rocky had, what made you guys go, okay, that sounds good, but I think if we shift it and we build everything around the Momo, that's what could make this really successful?
I mean, it's sort of, I don't know if confidence is the right word. I would say that I'm humbled by the Momo. I still think it's the best thing on the menu. I guess every day I'm trying to make a dish that can sort of complement it, or a dish that I think could be just as addictive or just as interesting and exciting. I mean, they really are good. They're good to share. They're good as a meal. But I guess for me, yeah, it really is like it's like both my best friend and my worst enemy. Like I love the Momo, but like how can I myself add something to the menu that could live up to that dish?
So I heard Rocky in an interview that he did, one of the owners, describe kind of the origins of the name cattle call. And cattle call in theater terms just kind of means like an open audition. Anybody can come in and they can audition for the role, try and get the part. So the idea with the name cattle call is anybody can come in off the street, whether it is somebody who wants an upscale dinner, whether it's somebody who just wants a late night bite, whether it's somebody who might not have a lot of money or a lot of great restaurant experiences, and all these people can come in and gather. How do you feel like you guys have created a space where everyone feels welcome?
I mean, I think I see it in our service. First of all, I mean it's not too stuffy. You know, we like to keep things, professional but casual. With friendly service first and foremost, and I think the menu reflects that as well from a price point perspective. Is that you really can get a variety of different experiences just based on how much money you're willing to spend. And we're more than happy to accommodate that and give the best service regardless of the fact. So I think that's exciting. Having a diverse menu, not only in flavors and styles, but in price point, I think is where we like to be, and it is very inclusive in every aspect.
So I want to talk to you a little bit about the menu style, because there are 4 parts to the menu. There's snacks, there's share plates, there's entree plates, and there's desserts. Yet of all those, only 4 of the plates are entrees, while there are combined 13 snacks, desserts, and shareable plates. So to me, it feels pretty clear that the menu was created so people would have like a shareable experience, where it's not everybody just saying, okay, maybe we share an appetizer and then I got my entree, I got my entree, I got my entree. But no, it's more so like, let's get a bunch of stuff and let's all try it and let's all share it. A, feel free to tell me if I'm off base in thinking that was your strategy. And B, what attracts you to that dining style?
I guess it was never really intentional in the beginning, but I guess as I'm thinking about it right now, that is how I like to personally dine when I go to great restaurants in the city. So I guess maybe that's just a reflection of my personal style of dining, and I personally think that appetizers and share plates are the most exciting and most delicious dishes that chefs can produce. Oftentimes I'll go to great spots like Via Farina, and I'll just get like 2 salads, a bread, maybe a pizza and a pasta, and it's just all on the table, and myself and some friends will go to town. So I guess that's sort of the experience that I want to bring to Cattle Call as well. That, yeah, it is about sharing, and of course we do have a couple entree plates that, if you don't want to share, you don't have to share. But I guess it comes back to that, like, all included, all is welcome, that community, that like sharing food is just like something that's really important to me, and I think important to the owners as well.
How many times a year do you change the menu?
I think maybe at least once a month. We'll usually go in waves, kind of quarterly, seasonally, try to keep it kind of free form. We don't really have any like hard menu drops. I just, based off of whims or what's in season or what's exciting, and what's exciting the staff.
What inspires you to make changes? Like when you put a new dish on the menu, what are some places where you draw inspiration from?
For me, it could be like something as silly as like an Instagram post, or sometimes we have a surplus of products. Like one of my favorite dishes on the menu right now is a rice pudding. And it was a particularly slow day at Cattle Call, and I was going through storage, and I saw all this extra short grain rice, and we had all this extra dates, And I was like, how can we use this? How can we turn this into something sellable and exciting? And I guess to me, that is oftentimes the biggest inspiration, is like looking at the menu as maybe like a problem or a puzzle. Like when I look at a menu, there's certain like boxes that I want to tick. Like, for example, the desserts, I want a fruit dessert, a chocolate dessert, like all those like basic boxes to tick. And so when I see, for example, like surplus product, I see that as a problem to solve. And then, necessity oftentimes leads to the greatest and most delicious food, in my opinion.
I love that. And we had that rice pudding the last time we came in, and it was, in fact, delicious. The little meringues that you put on top, those are just money. As you look back at your time at Cattle Call, do you have a favorite plate that you've created, or maybe any other stories kind of like the rice pudding that stand out to you?
I really enjoy it. We did a beet salad. I want to say might have been 2 years ago now, like a year and a half ago. It was early on in Cattle Call. I was like, the beets were like braised and then marinated in a yogurt, and it was like burnt yeast and cocoa rub, and then they were fired in the oven and charred, and then it was served with arugula and fried chickpeas and fig, and to me that was one of the most exciting dishes. And I remember when we took it off the menu because the beets were coming out of season, they were like, "Chef, what's going on?" I was like, "Well, it'll be back. It'll be back." And I guess now looking forward, and something I'm excited about is we're sort of revisiting that idea and that cookery style of like cooking the vegetables and then marinating them in yogurt with a new carrot dish. So I'm excited for that. That'll be coming up soon.
Was this the dish? Was
Yes.
it the Long Walk Beets?
Mm-hmm.
I still remember that from our first dinner there. Like, we had so much good food, but that was the first thing that we tasted, and I remember thinking like, and I love beets, but I was like, if this restaurant is going to do something this exciting with something as humble as beets, like, I cannot wait to see what is coming the rest of this evening. So that's very exciting to hear that is potentially coming back, because I loved that dish. But I got to talk to you about a dish that it blew my mind a little bit.
Okay.
It is wild, and that is your burger. It is definitely the weirdest burger in Omaha. It has no beef. It's only available after 10 p.m. or later.
Yeah.
And it's basically a repurposed Momo, which, like we were talking about earlier, is a dumpling. You turned a dumpling into a burger. Tell me about this burger. How did it come to life?
I mean, I think I was going to a whiskey tasting. What was it? It was in Dundee. It was a bar in Dundee, and I was going to a whiskey tasting, and frankly, I was a little tipsy after this whiskey tasting, and I was just sort of talking with my friend, and because I was trying to think of like, how do I bring people in after 10? Like, I want to capitalize on this late night crowd because we weren't seeing a lot of traffic, and I was like, you know what would be really stupid, but like really really good, because in the past we would like make nachos out of like the momos. We would like saute up the filling, and then we would fry the little wrappers into chips, and we'd make nachos. So we know that there's that you can sort of play with the flavor profile. I was like, what if we did a burger? Like, we've been sort of dancing around it. We haven't done a sandwich yet. Like, what if we just do a burger? And I guess one thing led to another, and we're buying buns, we're running tests, and it just sort of happened. Like, I just thought it would be cool, thought it would be tasty. It's kind of stupid. Like, someone said that it kind of tastes like a McChicken, and I was like, I can't really untaste that. Someone says it kind of tastes like a Broncos burger in the best way. It's like, I'll take that. That's a compliment. I'll take that. And no, it's good. It's kind of silly, but to me, that's like part of food. Like, I like silly things. You
like to be playful.
Yeah, I mean, sure. Like, I like to I feel like oftentimes food's taken a little too seriously. Maybe not. Like, I just I guess I always go back to this idea. One of my instructors, or maybe it was the dean of the college at Metro. It's like delicious always wins. You know, it doesn't need to be, you know, this like crazy concept, or it just needs to be delicious. As long as it's delicious, you're on top. So I guess that's what I was thinking about. I was like, this is stupid. In a lot of ways, this is stupid and maybe sacrilegious, but it's delicious, and so we sell it every day.
It doesn't need to make sense all the time. It just has to work. And to be clear, you can, just like the Momos, you can get it chicken or pork for the patty, and then it's got those fried dumpling wrappers on top of it with some lettuce. And then, is there a sauce?
There's like some Kewpie mayo and
some Kewpie mayo and a bun.
Yeah,
it's so simple, but it's so good. And then you can order it with the sauces that would normally come with Momos. I don't know. I didn't think it tasted like a McChicken or anything. I thought it tasted exactly like a Momo.
It does. It does.
In this form, other than picking it up with chopsticks, and I was just like, "What is going on? This is delicious." Why is it so important for you guys to cater to the late night crowd?
I mean, I guess for me, I sort of see like a vacuum, or there's like a need in Omaha, I feel like, for more great food late at night. I mean, I can think of a couple spots like Fizzy's and Night Owl, and like what the stuff that they do. And I know there's a couple other spots, but overall I feel like things get a little sparse after 10 in Omaha. And so we're sort of just trying to keep pushing that idea forward, that you can have a really nice meal after 10, I guess sort of bringing Omaha into that big city vibe, that big city experience. Like, oftentimes we get people that come off the plane, and they're staying at like the DoubleTree. They're like, "Oh, we didn't even know Omaha had food this late." I was like, "Yeah, we're right here. Like, tell your friends, or next time you're in town." Like, I guess we're really just trying to bring that big city experience. I talk to Sagar oftentimes, and he talks about these restaurants in Chicago and stuff, and how he wants to sort of bring that vibe to Omaha. And I love that vibe too. So I guess we're just sort of trying to show the people of Omaha and show the guests of Omaha that Omaha can serve great food, can serve great food late as well, and that food doesn't have to be at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock. It can you can have a great dining experience at 11:30. We'll be there.
I love how you use the example of the rice pudding and how that came to be. I would love to hear, and maybe it happens like this frequently, and it is just kind of, like you said, that puzzle that you're putting together. But what is your dish ideation process? How do you move from seeing something on Instagram or seeing ingredients that you're like, okay, we've got a surplus of these, how can I use these? How does your brain work to take it from, okay, here's an idea, to here it is on the menu?
Oftentimes I always have like a notepad on my phone. If I taste something or I hear something, I'll try and jot it down as quick as I can. Like, even yesterday, recording this the day after Easter, I had some deviled eggs. With my grandma made deviled eggs for Easter dinner, and I was like, oh yeah, let me write that down. And I'm flipping through her old recipe book, and I'm seeing like 5 different recipes for cheese balls, like cream cheese balls that you dip crackers in. I was like, oh, that could be kind of fun. And so I guess it all starts from just it could come from anywhere. A good meal I had at the Boiler Room, or like you said, something I see on Instagram, or I'll have a memory of a childhood memory, and that's where it starts. And then the next thing I look at is okay, what season is it? So obviously right now it's spring. So then I start thinking, okay, it needs to be fresh, crunchy, vibrant green. What produce is in season? So I have I'll look at a couple books. I'll do some research, talk to the farmers, etc. And then I'll go back to the menu and I'll see okay, what needs to change, or what do I want to change? And then from there, just sort of, just start maybe start pulling it together, or I'll open up the flavor Bible and I'll read and I'll study. Yeah, I mean sometimes it just sort of like I don't know happens, or like I guess I don't know. I guess I haven't thought about it like this, but I guess I just sort of.
You just sort of do it.
I don't know.
It's second nature to you.
Maybe I wouldn't go that far, but I guess I'd have to think. I do really enjoy the process of the trial and error process of cooking and testing, and sometimes I'll spend like 10 to 12 different iterations of a dish before it comes out, and sometimes it's the first time, and to me they're both of those experiences are kind of rewarding, of like, okay, this didn't work, or I'll switch this out, or like sometimes I'll scrap the whole dish, and like that is exciting. And I think it's exciting that when food changes, or when the menu changes.
Mm-hmm. So is your brain just like constantly turning and thinking about new dishes? I mean, you're talking about like, you're just having Easter dinner at grandma's house and all of a sudden you're thinking about deviled eggs, or you're at the boiler room and it's like, oh, well, I just ate something that's really delicious. How can I put my spin on that? Is your brain constantly like churning through ideas like that?
I think so. I think, Rocky, the owner, he'll always joke with me like, oh, you should keep like a tape recorder on you, because like, we'll be cooking and on the line, and I'll just like say something, and he's like, you should write that down, or you should do that. It's like, Rocky, if I, explored every idea that I thought or wrote down, you would need to hire a new chef. Like, this is, yeah, I guess it is sort of something that I'm always thinking about, always excited about, is just different ideas or silly ideas, and like, okay, how do I make this silly idea or this dish that is basically like a pun into like a real dish, or like, I don't know. It's just, yeah, I guess it's a constant thing for me.
Now, I hope I don't offend you with this next question.
Okay.
Because as much as I love the appetizers and the shared plates and the entrees that I've had at Cattle Call, I think some of the best dishes that I've had have been the desserts. Do you guys have a pastry chef on staff, or who's coming up with those?
I'm doing the desserts as well right now.
Okay, when you said the rice pudding thing earlier, I was like, is he doing all the desserts too? Well, do you have a love for pastry, or where does that come from?
I guess I've always liked desserts. When I went to college at Metro, all my electives I put towards the dessert classes. So I studied savory food and everything, but I've always had a passion for dessert and an interest in dessert. And I guess broadly speaking, I sort of like to break down those walls of like, I try not to think of cooking as like savory or sweet, and really try my best to just think of it as one discipline. And so, yeah, I have some experience with desserts and just some interests, and I've worked with some great pastry chefs in the past, and so sort of watching them, observing and tasting, and like we just sort of make it happen. Like, I don't know, it's just kind of one of those things. Like, it's it's just fun. I guess I just see it all the same, or I try my best to see it all as just food.
One thing that I appreciate about Cattle Call is your dessert menu, it's cream puffs and it's ponchiki and it's panna cottas and it's interesting desserts. It's not, a cheesecake or a chocolate layered cake or chocolate lava cake, the things that you typically see on just about every restaurant menu for dessert. What makes you want to explore kind of those lesser tread desserts?
I guess when it comes to like layered cakes, I guess I must confess I'm really, really bad at making cakes. I took a cakes class and I'm terrible at baking them. I'm terrible at decorating them. So I guess from that aspect, I've always kind of avoided cakes. But no, I love weird stuff. I like I don't know, like I guess the panchinki, that was Dom started that dish. the chef before me, and he has this ricotta program. He likes to make ricotta, so we still make ricotta to this day in house. And we're trying to find different ways to use this, and he finds this donut, or this farmer cheese donut. It's like, I think we can do this, and we tried it. It's absolutely delicious. And then we sort of took that idea, because his partner, his now fiance, would come in, and she would order the panchinki, and then she would get a side of chocolate cremeux, which they weren't paired together initially. And I was like, that sounds delicious. And then I was having dinner at Courant for España night, and they had, churros and chocolate sauce. And then for me, that was sort of like a light bulb moment. I was like, okay, why don't we take the panchinki, toss them in cinnamon sugar like a churro, and then use Amanda's idea, Dom's partner, with the dark chocolate cremeux, and sort of bring it all together. Now it's just like Cattle Call's most popular dish by far.
It is one of the best desserts that I've had in the entire city. It's like, to try and explain it to someone, it's like a churro with a donut hole, but because of that ricotta, like, the donut hole is so much more creamy and like less dense. I mean, it practically melts in your mouth, and you dip it in the chocolate, and it's just,
yeah.
Your brain goes to places that you didn't, like planes that you didn't know existed previously. It's a very, very good dessert. If I asked you to sum up your cooking point of view in one sentence, what would you say?
My cooking point of view. Recently, I've been saying I'm trying to do less. What I mean by that is I'm trying to see the fewest things I can add to the plate, or the least I can manipulate the product to make it delicious. I'm trying to do less. I'm trying to, let the ingredient speak for itself as much as I can. I guess sort of like, when I think about food and I think about good food, oftentimes it comes back to good product and good sourcing. And so, when people say, "Oh, the steak is delicious," I like to say, "Well, the cow did all the work." Like, seriously, like I just made it hot. Like, I'm trying to do less. Oftentimes all the hard work's been done for you by the farmer, by the rancher, or like, it was a delicious fish that was that died and is ready to eat. Like, all the hard work's been done. How can I do less to get the most out of it?
I love that, and that's a common refrain that I hear from chefs, usually the ones that I respect the most. I also know that there's a temptation, because there are so many different ingredients that you could pair a protein or a vegetable with. There are so many cooking methods you could use. There are so many seasonings you could use. There's just in the world of culinary, there's so many options that you have.
Yeah.
How did you develop the restraint to say, I'm not going to use all these things out here. Maybe I'll use one or two, but I'm going to let this thing shine for the beautiful piece of food that it is.
I guess it's more of a practice that I'm trying to fulfill rather than a steadfast rule. Every dish that I'm trying to do, or every dish that's currently on the menu, I guess what I'm saying is that it is a constant reminder. It is a constant challenge for myself and the staff. Like you said, I look up to other chefs in the area, chefs just in general, and I see that philosophy as well, and I guess I'm just sort of trying my best to align myself with that philosophy, even though the temptation, like you said, is there, especially, someone like me, like, I was the executive chef when I was 23, so you open up the catalog on Cisco or any other catalog, and I just see all these different ingredients, and I could just buy any of them, but of course you can't and you shouldn't. So yeah, it's sort of this philosophy that I'm trying to live rather than a steadfast rule.
Okay, so I want to get an example of that. So I'm going to ask you about a dish that's currently on the menu that I actually had last time we came in, the Morgan Ranch Ribeye. Now, ribeye is my personal favorite cut of steak. A beautiful ribeye with all that fat, just that wonderful marbling, very tough to beat. Morgan Ranch, great farm here in Nebraska. They have a wonderful product. Along with this dish, usually comes dashi rice, bok choy, shallot, horseradish yuzu cream, and a whiskey soy jus. So as you're putting this dish together, how did you determine, okay, I've got this beautiful product from Morgan Ranch. This is going to be the sun around which all these other things, what's the word I'm looking for?
Orbit?
Orbit, yes, thank you. The sun around which everything else orbits. How did you determine how that dish was going to come together?
I guess when I think about that dish, I wanted to sort of capitalize on a couple things. Like, I really love beef and horseradish, so I think that's where the thought started. It was like, okay, I want to do beef, I want a horseradish sauce, but I don't want to do like a traditional horseradish sauce. Like, how do we make this more exciting for not only myself, the staff, but also the guests? And then I guess I thought, so then we like, okay, we'll do yuzu, because people, yuzu's cool, it's trendy, it's delicious, and I love it. I spent a lot of time at Yoshitomo working with yuzu, so that was sort of where that inspiration started. And then I guess from that thought, I was like, okay, you worked at Yoshitomo, that's cool. How can you bring that experience to cattle call, and how can you sort of like use those techniques you learned there for this dish? And so they taught me how to properly wash rice. They taught me how to make eel sauce, and from there I was like, oh, okay, I want to have this steak sauce that is like kind of like eel sauce, but kind of like a beef reduction. And so we spent some time sort of splicing those thoughts together. Implemented the rice cookery technique that they taught me, and then from there it was just like, how do we garnish it? So, okay, a little bok choy, a little veggies, something with some texture and some like vegetal crunch. You get a little char on there. That's going to be very complementary with the horseradish cream, and yeah, little fried shallot for more texture and salinity, and we called it a day.
That's what I love about your brain, Abe, and why I think that you have risen so quickly in these ranks is your creativity is incredible. Like, you can look at a beautiful piece of steak and your mind goes to, hey, I had this job at a sushi restaurant. Now, obviously, Yoshitomo is not your average sushi restaurant. That place is incredible. But that's the direction your mind went, and you were able to kind of successfully fuse those two things together is just fascinating. And I think that goes, excuse me, it goes into your background a little bit. You've worked at Block 16 and V Mertz and Courant and Yoshitomo. I mean, those are like, that's basically just like a roster of my favorite restaurants, give or take a few. Like, that's an incredible catalog to work with. As you were kind of starting your career, did you think about that, about bouncing around between, because I mean, on this list, you've got a sushi place, you've got a sandwich shop, you've got a couple fine dining places. Did you intentionally try and place yourself in different scenarios to learn different cuisines, or did it just kind of happen that way?
I think it was somewhat intentional. So my very first job, I was working at a bar and grill at my hometown of Elmwood, Nebraska, and I soon quickly realized that was not going to be enough, both financially and experience wise. So I spent some time at a steakhouse way out Ashland, Round the Bend Steakhouse, home of the Testicle Festival. Mm-hmm. Place is great. Shout out TJ and Curtis. And yeah, from there I was like, okay, I gotta get into the Omaha food scene. And so I asked my chef at the time, I was like, what's the best restaurant? What's your favorite restaurant? He's like, oh, Block 16. You gotta work at Block 16. So I sent an email to Jess and Paul. I was like, hey, basically, can I have a job? And they're like, sure. And yeah, I guess from there, the world of like the Omaha food scene opened up to me. You know, from working at Block 16, I met so many people, and they're like, "Oh, have you been here? Have you been here?" And I was like, "No, I just moved here. Like, I don't really know anything." And so after spending some time at Block, I realized, okay, there's a whole other dining experience. I guess I remember I was at Block 16. We were doing their holiday dinner. They do like a fine dining plated dinner every Christmas, and I had never done anything like that before. And I was like, "Oh, this is different. Like I've never experienced service like this or food like this." And then from there, I was like, "Yeah, I guess like how do I get in this space?" And so then back to Google. I'm asking around. I'm like, where's the best place to eat? Where's the best fine dining spot? And Courant, Mertz, Boiler Room. I was like, okay. So next thing I know, I'm sneaking my way into that kitchen, and then after that, I spent some time with Chef Chovy, and then Dom, who I worked at Mertz with, he was like, oh, why don't you come over to Yoshitomo? And then I spent some time there as well, and I don't know. It's just, I guess I've just been trying to collect experiences. People ask me what my goal is in my career, and I think ultimately that is it, is that I want to collect experiences and learn as much about cuisine as I can.
Mm-hmm. So it's interesting because your career started in more casual dining, I would say. I mean, Around the Bend is definitely a nice steakhouse, but you got a bar and grill, you got a kind of a low-key steakhouse, very much a come-as-you-are type of place. Yeah. Block 16 is obviously very casual. They're putting out incredible food, but more casual. What was it about that Christmas dinner, that fine dining dinner, that really kind of caught your eye and made you go, whoa? This is because that's the lane that you leaned into and you've kind of stayed in. Yeah. When you go to Mertz and you go to Courant and you go to Yoshitomo and now at Cattle Call, that's kind of where you've stayed. You haven't really gone back to the casual side of things. What is it about that dining style that you like?
I like that you can, I guess it's about guest experience. And then, of course, I think that the guest experience at all these great restaurants is awesome. But I think about my first fine dining job at Mertz, and just the time that we're able to give to each guest, and the time that we're able to give to each product, each prep task was so unique to me and so exciting that, if you need to spend an extra 10 minutes because chef wants all the carrots to be lined up like this, then that's what I'm going to do. And I remember the prep chef and the pastry chef, she was like, yeah, line them up like little soldiers. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah. I guess like that attention to detail that you're able to provide at these restaurants it caught my attention. I guess it still has my attention. This idea that you can give the guests extra time and the food a little extra time, a little extra love. I think ultimately you can taste that and you can feel that. And it's kind of addicting, honestly.
So you're getting all this experience at these great restaurants. Like I said, kind of a who's list of Omaha's best. What made you seek out culinary school?
I don't know. I guess it was one of those things, like I graduated high school and it's like, oh, well, I should probably go to college. I've always wanted to go to college. And, I was lucky enough to get the opportunity to go to Metro. And people always told me like, oh, you probably don't need to. And I was like, well, let me see, like, let me feel it out. Like, I'm having a good time so far. And I guess ultimately I think it's great. And people ask me, I recommend Metro to anyone interested in the culinary field. I think that not only does it give you like a vocabulary and just a baseline knowledge for food. But more importantly, I've met so many great chefs and had so many great experiences, whether it's in class or on the culinary team or whatever. I think that, I guess I started because I just wanted to go to college because that felt like the right thing to do, but I stayed because I thought that culinary school was special and well worth my time.
What do you think was the most important thing that you took away from culinary school? Because I'll frame the question this way. There's always that great debate that I have with chefs on both sides, those who go to culinary school and say that was foundational to teaching me what I needed to be a cook, and then eventually a sous chef, then a chef. And then there's those who just started off in the field and they cooked in restaurants, and they learned on the line. And they said, yeah, I didn't rack up a bunch of debt in culinary school. I learned on the job, and that made me great at it. Obviously, you advocate for culinary school. What do you think what was the greatest benefit to you from attending Metro?
I guess it comes back to those experiences and those connections you make with chefs, and just those little moments of mentorship that, sometimes you don't get in a restaurant setting, or it's in a restaurant setting, but it's like twice as fast, and they don't really have time to like really talk to you. Like there are these small moments where they're like, yeah, you did kind of mess that up, but it's okay. Or like those experiences you hold on to, and like those learning moments, I hold on to, especially my time on the culinary team. It was frankly a little brief, but really, really fundamental to, I guess, how I cook now and how I navigate kitchens. So I guess that wasn't one thing, but that was a couple things.
That was a perfect answer.
Yeah. I guess, I mean, maybe it's kind of a cop-out answer, but my thought is do both. Like my experience and myself, I went to culinary school, but I also cooked in a kitchen. Like I always suggest to anyone that's going through the program, you should do both. If you have the ability and the time, try and just immerse yourself in this field, because that's how you're going to learn the quickest, and that's how you're going to see the most and do the most.
I had Metro's dean, Brian O'Malley. He was on the show last week, and he said something that kind of opened my eyes. He said culinary school teaches you to learn how to learn, and that you can go to a restaurant and you can learn, you can watch someone else do something, perform different knife cuts or do a different meat preparation or something like that, and then you can repeat it and you can learn that way. But culinary school teaches you the how and the why behind you're doing those knife cuts, why you're braising the beef this certain way, why you're pairing these two ingredients together. And I thought that was really wise and an interesting way to look at it. Let's get into cattle call, though, because something I hadn't really even thought about until we were talking about it right now, like Block 16, Round the Bend, V Mertz, Yoshitomo. These are all restaurants that have been around, and Courant too, that have been around since at least 2015, 2016. So we're talking like established restaurants by the time you're stepping in there. Cattle call is brand new.
Oh, yeah.
It is a clean slate, but it's also, kind of a risk because you're coming into something completely new. You don't know if people are going to get it or if they're going to come or not. What was it about this job that attracted you originally?
I guess, it is that idea that it is new. I've never had the chance to help open a restaurant. I've always been stepping into, like you said, super established, super, successful restaurants. And I guess I saw it as an opportunity to be like, I don't know, let's, what can I do with all these experiences? Now is a chance to sort of put this all into practice. And so I guess that was my initial thought. I mean, I started as the sous chef, and so we I guess we were just excited to have a menu that we had complete control over, and a space that we could curate. And it is always that balance of like, you want to be flexible and open to what's new, but you want to bring your old experiences in. And so I guess it's sort of the fusion of those two thoughts of like, how can I bring to the table all that I've learned, and how can I just sort of let Cattle Call grow and change into its own unique experience that hopefully someday can be, placed amongst these other established restaurants when people talk about great restaurants. That is, I mean, ultimately that is the goal. It's like, how can I take a restaurant that is of humble beginnings, we're less than 2 years old, and how can we keep pushing it so people talk about it the same way that they talk about all the restaurants that I love in the city.
Something I find very interesting about Cattle Call that is very different to your other jobs is the open kitchen.
Yeah.
For the most part, most of your jobs there's a separation between the kitchen and the dining room. Mm-hmm. At Yoshitomo, you've got the sushi counter, but that's a little bit different because you're not actually cooking food there.
No.
This, you're on full display. Like, if you mess up, if you have an argument with somebody on the line, like, it's just out there. So you really have to be very buttoned up, especially as the leader. Mm-hmm. Now that you're the executive chef, you're making sure that everybody is doing what they're supposed to do. What was that like for you, working in an open kitchen for the first time?
I think it's kind of exciting. I think, like you said, it definitely has its own challenges, but it ultimately makes us sharper and better. We're always on our best behavior. I guess at its best for me, it's talking to the guests that sit at the bar. They're enjoying a meal. They're like saying hi to me, and able to hold a conversation while we cook, and looking out into the dining room periodically just to see people enjoying the food. Like, I feel like it's a very good experience. Or it's a very unique experience, because oftentimes, it's always the kitchen's pushed away. You don't really get to interact with the guests at all, or very briefly. So to see people enjoying food that you cooked, your team cooked, it sort of keeps us going, right? Like, it's very easy to look at a ticket and see it as this other thing, this person that, like, we know is real, but
it's a faceless entity.
A faceless entity, yes. But to see, table 30 out there actually enjoying the food makes a world of difference. It's what, keeps you coming back. And, like, on another note, it's really nice that Cattle Call has so many windows. I've worked in so many kitchens that are all fluorescent light. V Mertz is in a basement. It is really nice just to see the sun, just to, like, experience the four elements and or the four seasons, and it really feels like we're in the dining room. And it also is like, we're sort of a theater themed restaurant. We're in the theater district. It's an open audition. That's what Cattle Call means. And so the kitchen sort of being front and center and sort of on this sort of pseudo stage I think is very appropriate and kind of exciting and a full circle moment.
We've referenced this guy several times, but when you started, like you said, you were the sous chef. Mm-hmm. Dom Gertrulo was the executive chef. You'd worked with him previously at V Mertz and Yoshitomo. And he was the executive chef the first time I came in, and the food was fantastic. I think he was doing really exciting things. Unfortunately, he has a health condition that has, at least for the time being, forced him to step away from the kitchen. And all of a sudden, you go from being sous chef to executive chef of a brand new restaurant at a very young age. What were your emotions when you found out that was going to be your new role?
I was definitely hesitant. Like some big shoes to fill. That was my first thought. It's like, I don't know if I'd have what what it takes, or like, I don't know if this is right for me. But I think back to what one of my chefs said, Chef Amanda. She said, if you wait until you feel like you're ready, you'll wait your whole life. And I was like, she's right. She's always right. I was like, she's right. Let me try. And I guess to this day, I'm still trying. Like, we're still constantly growing. And I guess it's sort of fitting in a lot of ways that it's a young restaurant, somewhat of a young chef. As I'm growing, the restaurant's growing. I'm growing. We're a young staff as well. It's all very exciting. Like, there's a lot to learn and a lot to be said about, more experienced and seasoned chefs and seasoned restaurants. But it's completely different to my other experiences, and that it's all new. And like every holiday that comes up, we get the chance to have a new tradition. Like, what do we do for Valentine's Day? Well, in the past, it's like, oh, well, we always do this and we always do that. But now it's like, okay, we can really establish an identity, not only for myself, but like as a kitchen, as a restaurant, like its own culture, its own ecosystem. That's exciting to me.
There are a lot of things that are very exciting about becoming the executive chef. There are also a lot of challenges. Mm-hmm. And one that I've talked to a lot of chefs about before, especially chefs who stepped into leadership roles at a young age, is a lot of times you are leading people who are older than you or who have worked in the industry much longer than you have, and all of a sudden you're the one who's giving them instructions.
Yeah.
How did you learn to kind of manage those relationships? Because if you fumble those, they could go poorly very quickly. I think you've done a really good job. How did you learn to manage those?
I guess I often think back to my time at Round the Bend. I was working for Chef Curtis. One of my first mentors, a great guy, and he told me, like, because I was sort of managing the line while he wasn't there, and he told me, get used to it. Like, you may be the youngest in the room at times, but you just have to act like you're supposed to be there, and like that's half the battle. And so I try to live that the best I can, just like act like I'm supposed to be here, even if it is like maybe a little awkward, or like there's a reason I'm here, there's a reason that we're doing this. Just treating people with respect and basic human decency goes a long way oftentimes. And I guess broadly speaking, or more big picture for me, I think about the food industry and stepping into it. I started really getting my hands dirty during COVID and post-COVID. And so the industry was going through lots of changes, and certain practices are frankly no longer cool or acceptable. And I guess all is to say, I'm trying to bring a new vibe, a new style of mentorship and stewardship into the culinary world, the best of my ability. Like, I'm trying to, I'm not trying to be so heavy-handed or old school, or like maybe that makes me kind of like Gen Z hippie, what do you know, kid? But like, I don't know, like, food is serious, and I take it very seriously, but it's also food. We eat it, we get rid of it. Like, it's okay. I often tell my staff sometimes, like, hey, it's okay. Like, we don't need this old school mentality. We don't need, like, the industry is so much more than that now. I also see all this stuff that come to light, like with Noma. I'm sure in sort of the mainstream news, I think about that. I think about my experiences, and just like it really doesn't need to be that way. Kind of off topic, but
no,
yeah.
I think that's great, and it is timely with Noma and Renee Redzepi and all the accusations that have come out there. I mean, just the bullying, the physical abuse, the mental torture, really. Like, this has been a reality in kitchens for decades, but I think over the past decade we've kind of started to see it turn.
Yeah.
And when chefs like you are leading kitchens and they're being thoughtful about that, that's how change comes about. And not because one kitchen is doing it, but if you do it and you have cooks in your kitchen who then go to other kitchens and talk about their experience, that's how the entire industry starts to shift, is when you got to plant that seed somewhere.
Right.
And if you've got more and more chefs across Omaha, not just Omaha, but to our region specifically, who are planting that seed, that's how we start to see that grand change.
Yeah, I agree.
When do you feel like you really found your footing as an executive chef?
Ask me in a couple of years. Honestly, yeah, I don't know if I have. I think every day is a new challenge for me. Every day is, there's a problem that I've never had to solve, whether it's like, something interpersonal amongst the staff, or it's, the walk-in broke again, and like, I'm still feeling it out. But I guess I'm like a year in now, so hopefully soon. But I guess at the same time, that's why I've always liked the food industry. And you mentioned that I've been sort of restaurant hopping.
Ooh, there you go. Nicely done.
Yeah, I like a challenge. I like the change. And this job definitely has its handful of changes and challenges. So I guess I don't know if I'll ever get my footing, but I guess I don't know if I ever want to.
You don't want it to just be old hat. It gets boring, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I try my best to keep the menu fresh. It's that same idea, is that cooking the same thing or doing the same thing is, for me, that's not sustainable. Like, especially now where I'm at and where the restaurant's at, it's about growth. Like, how can we grow? How can we change for the better? Like, those are my thoughts. Like, yeah.
Well, Abe, for someone who hasn't found their footing yet, you are doing some incredible stuff, my friend. You're leading a great kitchen. You're putting out incredible food. You're giving guests great experiences. And, I mean, yeah, Cattle Call, it's evolved a lot in the 2+ years that it's been open. And I'm sure it's going to evolve a lot more in the coming years. But you've really created something special, and I applaud you for that and for having the boldness to step into that role where most people probably would have been like, whoa, this is way over my head. And maybe it was way over your head, but you still went for it.
Yeah.
And that takes some guts.
Yeah.
So thank you for being willing to step forward and doing that, because you've given Omaha yet another great restaurant.
Thank you.
People, if you haven't been to Cattle Call, you can go to Cattle Call for a variety of reasons. Like we talked about, you just want to go get a great cocktail? Awesome. They have that. Have you ever tried Momos? If you have, you're addicted. If you haven't, you need to try them. Go to Cattle Call and get those. If you're just downtown for a show and you want somewhere to eat, Cattle Call is right across the street from the Orpheum. Or if you want to have a fantastic upscale dining meal, you can go there too. There's all kinds of different opportunities. Get to Cattle Call. Abe, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. This was a lot of fun, man.
That was a pleasure. It was a pleasure. No, thank you.
Omaha, as always, thanks for eating with us.